Beneath the heart of the Vatican lies a world the Church has never confessed. 40 miles of sealed corridors, deeper than catacombs, older than Christianity itself. Down here, the air still remembers prayers whispered before Latin existed, and rituals the Church did not destroy, but inherited. They say these archives hold dusty papal letters and forgotten decrees, but that's only what they want the world to believe. The truth is far stranger and far more dangerous, because buried beneath centuries of scripture are fragments of another faith, one that claimed it could bend light, summon memory, and even command life itself. Tonight, you will walk those forbidden halls, and with each step deeper, you'll begin to wonder, was resurrection a miracle, or a formula Rome never stopped using? The stairway spirals down like a thought you can't stop thinking. Each step hums faintly under your boots, as if the stone remembers the weight of every soul that ever descended. The air cools the deeper you go, dry, almost metallic, the scent of paper and time. Above, the Vatican sleeps, its towers and bells holding their breath. Below, silence waits like an animal that has learned patience. You reach the bottom and find the door. It stands taller than any saint, its surface black iron veined with gold dust. No handle, no hinge, only an inscription carved across the center. Silentium, custodit veritatem. Silence guards truth. You hesitate. The archivist's warning echoes in your memory. No light past the third gate, no sound, no prayer. You hadn't asked why. You're asking now. Your lamp flickers as if deciding whether to stay alive. You lift your hand. The metal feels warm, almost soft. It vibrates beneath your palm, matching your pulse. Then, the inscription glows. A single word rises in your mind, not heard, but felt. Enter. The door exhales. It opens without sound, revealing a corridor so dark it swallows the lamp's flame. You step inside, and the air closes behind you, like water sealing a wound. At first there is nothing, only your breath, slow and shallow. Then faintly, a rhythm. Not footsteps, not wind. Something deeper, a heartbeat in the walls. The Vatican is alive. You walk. Shelves appear, stretching into the dark like ribs. The first holds books bound in cracked leather, Latin titles fading to dust. The next holds scrolls wrapped in silk too fine for this world. Some hum softly, some whisper. You reach for one, and it moves away, as if breathing. You whisper, "What are you?" A voice answers, close to your ear, though no one stands beside you. Witness. You turn. The corridor is empty. Your light flickers across the far wall. There, carved into stone, is a sigil. An eye encircled by serpents biting their tails. It's older than Latin, older than Rome. You've seen it once before, in an image from an Egyptian tomb labeled the Eye of Ra. The archivist had said the Vatican's forbidden sections contained pagan artifacts seized from Alexandria after the library burned. But what you see here is no artifact. It's part of the wall. You trace the symbol with your finger. The stone trembles under your touch. The serpents shift, curling inward. The eye opens. Light spills through the crack like breath returning to a corpse. Beyond it lies another chamber, round, domed, silent. A single table stands at its center, a candle burning on top, though no hand lit it. You step closer, drawn by the flame. On the table rests a small key made of gold and bone, carved with a symbol you almost recognize, the ankh, cross of life. But around its circle is Latin script, vita sub verbo, life beneath the word. You lift the key. The candle flares, throwing long shadows across the walls. You see frescoes, faint, worn, but clear enough to recognize. Priests in white robes lifting chalices. Behind them, figures in linen tunics holding ankhs and lotus flowers. Two worlds, one ritual. The fresco speaks without words. The Mass and the offering of Osiris, twin ceremonies born from the same gesture. You understand then why the archivist warned of silence. The deeper you go, the more the truth rearranges itself. Something shifts behind you. A breeze moves through the room though no door stands open. The candle flickers. You turn and see a man watching from the threshold. His robes are red, faded to rust. His face is pale, eyes black as oil. "You shouldn't be here," he says. His voice is calm, but his hands tremble. He steps closer, and the candle bends toward him like a flower drawn to light. "Who are you?" you ask. "I was a keeper," he says, "before they sealed the vault." He glances at the key in your hand. "That opens the second gate. Once, I held it. Once, I believed I was guarding truth. Now, I know it guards itself." You start to speak, but he lifts a finger to his lips. "Listen." At first you hear nothing, then the walls sigh. The hum returns, louder now, steady, resonant, like a chord played on invisible strings. "The Vatican was built to hold this sound," the man whispers. "Every stone tuned to one frequency. They thought they were silencing the old gods. They were only amplifying them. You feel it too, the vibration beneath your skin, the pulse matching your heart. It's music, slow and vast, a hymn older than words." The candle flares white. The man steps back into shadow, his voice fading. "When you reach the next door, do not speak your name. Names wake what sleeps." The flame goes out. You stand in darkness holding the key. Somewhere behind the walls, the Vatican breathes again, and for the first time, you feel it listening. The door behind you seals with a sigh. The sound travels down the corridor like wind through bone. You stand in perfect blackness until the key in your hand begins to glow, a thread of gold guiding your steps. The air here is dry as parchment. Each breath tastes of dust, but it's not ordinary dust. It sparkles faintly, catching the light. You realize it's ash, burned paper, burned names, burned memory. The corridor stretches on forever, lined with shelves that lean like tired monks. On each shelf, relics wrapped in linen, scrolls tied with red ribbon, glass jars filled with black sand. Some of the jars are cracked. The sand inside moves as if alive. You walk slowly. Every step raises a small cloud that whispers when it falls. The sound isn't random. It forms syllables, words. You stop to listen. The dust says, "Ankh, lux, veritas." Life, light, truth. You whisper them aloud. The air thickens. The walls shimmer, revealing shapes buried beneath the stone, hieroglyphs faintly glowing like stars seen through fog. You reach out. The moment your fingers touch the symbols, the corridor shifts. You are no longer walking through stone, but through time. The walls turn to sandstone. Torches flicker in iron brackets. The air smells of incense and salt. You see figures moving, priests of Egypt, their faces hidden behind masks of jackal and ibis. They carry scrolls toward an altar where a single flame burns blue. The vision trembles but holds. One priest stops and turns. His eyes meet yours across centuries. He speaks in a voice that is both thunder and whisper. "You walk the same path we built. Do you remember why?" You blink, and the Vatican returns. Only dust now, and the echo of his words. You keep walking. The corridor widens into a small chamber. A marble plaque hangs crooked on the wall, its inscription half erased. Archivum Thoth, the archive of Thoth, the Egyptian god of writing, wisdom, and measurement. Inside the chamber, a single desk covered in parchment. On it lies a feather quill made not of bird, but of metal, black as obsidian. When you touch it, the air hums. The quill vibrates, then writes on its own across the page. All who write become written. The words sink into the parchment, glowing red before fading. You realize the Vatican didn't just store Egyptian texts. It absorbed them, fed them into its rituals, its architecture, its very breath. Every hymn, every psalm, every candle was a translation of something far older. A faint light flickers at the far wall. You approach and find a series of jars stacked like organs in a body. Inside each, fragments of gold script float in liquid amber. When you draw near, the letters rearrange themselves into shapes, ankhs, spirals, eyes. The jars hum. The floor trembles. You see a line of Latin etched beneath them. Memoriae servate in sonum. Memories preserved as sound. You kneel, pressing your ear to the stone. The vibration beneath is faint but rhythmic, heartbeats slow, deep. You realize the entire corridor is alive, like a lung that exhales history. A voice speaks from behind. Do not linger. The air remembers too much. You turn. The red-robed man again, though paler now, his outline trembling like smoke. You again? He nods. The dust carries echoes. Too many, and you lose your shape. What is this place, you ask? The first archive, he says. When Alexandria burned, not everything was lost. Some fled north. Rome took what Egypt left behind. Then the church took what Rome feared to read. He gestures toward the jars. These hold the words they could not destroy, texts that refused silence. You watch the letters drift in amber light, moving like fish through memory. Why keep them, you ask? The man smiles faintly. Because even faith fears forgetting. The floor hums again, louder now. The jars rattle, one cracks. Liquid spills, glowing where it touches the stone. You step back, but the man doesn't move. It's waking, he murmurs. The archive doesn't like to be remembered. The liquid crawls across the floor, forming words as it goes. The second key awaits in breath, not stone. You ask what it means, but the man has already faded. Only his whisper remains. Listen, and it will find you. You close your eyes. The hum resolves into rhythm, soft, measured, almost like chanting. Beneath it, faint breath. A sigh repeating endlessly, as if the walls inhale through time. You breathe with them. The air grows warmer. The dust lifts. For a moment you see it, shapes forming out of particles, outlines of faces, hands, eyes. The dead breathing once more through the silence. When the vision fades, you are alone again. The key in your hand glows brighter, pointing forward. You walk on, knowing now that the corridor is not a hallway, but a throat. The Vatican is speaking, and somewhere ahead, the next door waits to answer back. You follow the glow of the key through the narrowing passage. The air grows heavier, thick with the smell of wax and stone dust. The corridor slopes downward, the floor cold beneath your steps. Somewhere ahead, water drips in a steady rhythm, the only sound left that still belongs to the world above. The key vibrates faintly in your palm. You feel it guiding, pulling, as if it remembers the way better than you do. Its glow flickers each time you hesitate, urging you forward. The walls close in, smooth, seamless, no seams of masonry. Not built, carved. At the base of the incline, the corridor ends in another door, bronze this time, dull and green with age. Symbols coil across its surface, worn to near invisibility. You wipe dust away and lines emerge, hieroglyphs mixed with Latin letters, two languages breathing through one mouth. The phrase repeats in both tongues. Through death, life is spoken. You lift the key. Its teeth shimmer like sunlight through water. The metal hums when it nears the lock. You hesitate, remembering the warning. Do not speak your name. But the silence feels heavier than fear. You insert the key. It turns on its own. The door exhales. Light spills out. Pale blue. Cool. Steady. The chamber beyond is round and vast. Its ceiling lost in shadow. You step in. The floor is covered in fine sand, rippling faintly, as if stirred by unseen breath. In the center stands a pedestal of onyx, and on it rests a golden disc engraved with spirals that seem to move. You approach. The air here feels alive, vibrating softly against your skin. On the walls, murals shimmer through dust, scenes of Egypt's underworld, the weighing of the heart, the journey through gates, the resurrection of Osiris. But between these images are crosses, chalices, and Latin prayers. The two stories blend seamlessly. The dead gods reborn in Christian robes. You kneel before the disc. It hums, faint but constant, as though remembering its own music. The spiral glows beneath your hand, expanding outward until the light brushes the walls. Symbols lift from stone like dust in a rising wind. You hear the faintest voice, not one voice, but thousands speaking as one. Keeper. The word trembles through your chest. The murals shift, colors deepening, the scenes moving. You see Osiris rising from his coffin, arms crossed like a pharaoh, but behind him stands a figure in red robes, the same silhouette from the Vatican frescoes, haloed, holding a staff shaped like the ankh. You whisper, Christ. The vision answers, the same, the continuation. The murals show more. The priests of Egypt kneeling before the resurrected God. Then later, Roman bishops standing in his place, repeating the same gestures. The same words, changed only in name. The gospel reborn as geometry. Faith rewritten as ritual. You step back, dizzy. The air thickens. The disc begins to spin slowly, lifting from the pedestal, light pouring through its spiral grooves. The vibration fills the chamber, low and vast, a sound that doesn't move through air but through bone. Then the voice returns, closer now, intimate, inside your thoughts. This is the key of Osiris, it says, the resonance of return. It opens no door of stone, only the one between silence and sound. You ask aloud, what does it unlock? The voice answers, memory. You see flashes, temples buried beneath Rome, priests chanting in secret long after their gods were outlawed, papal scribes copying Egyptian hymns and hiding them under new titles, psalms, creeds, canon law. Each translation, another layer of disguise. The light dims, the disc lowers, resting again on the pedestal. But something has changed. The spiral now burns faintly red, as though blood pulses beneath its gold surface. You notice an inscription around its rim, half covered by dust. You wipe it clean. Sanguis resonat lumen. Blood resonates with light. Your own pulse answers. The mark on your palm warms, glowing faintly through the skin. You touch the disc again. The spiral flares bright, then softens, syncing with your heartbeat. For a moment, you and the chamber breathe as one organism. The door behind you creaks open on its own. A cool wind drifts through, carrying the faint scent of lilies and myrrh. You turn, but no one stands there, only shadows shifting like thought. The voice whispers one last time. Every resurrection needs a vessel. The church became ours. Now it becomes yours. The light fades. The hum subsides. You leave the chamber, the golden key cold in your hand again, but you know something has followed you out. As you step back into the corridor, you hear faint music far below, soft, rhythmic, pulsing like a heart too large for stone. The Vatican is remembering, and you are the reminder. You move deeper, following the sound that breathes through walls. It grows clearer, more deliberate, tones layered like chords. The corridor widens into a gallery lined with glass cases, each holding a relic. Chalices, torn parchment, fragments of bone wrapped in silk. But the air hums only around one case at the end. Inside, resting on a velvet cloth, lies a rolled papyrus sealed with wax, dark as dried blood. Around the seal, words etched in gold. Codex Lux, the light of the first word. You press your palm to the glass. The mark on your skin glows in response, and the case unlocks with a click. The hum deepens, filling your ears, vibrating your teeth. You unroll the scroll slowly, careful not to tear the brittle edges. The ink is faint, the script half faded. But as the light from your lamp touches it, the letters flare alive, hieroglyphs and Latin interwoven. You begin to read. At first, it is prayer, simple, rhythmic, almost musical. But as the verses unfold, the tone changes. The text describes the architecture of light, how the voice shapes energy, how faith can bend matter through sound. Each sentence feels like instruction rather than worship. You read of 7 tones, notes used by Egyptian priests to call the soul back into its vessel. The scroll names them as frequencies, precise and mathematical. Beneath each is written a Latin translation linking them to the psalms sung in early Christian rites. You realize this scroll isn't myth. It's a manual, a formula for resurrection, one that survived through liturgy, disguised as devotion. You hear a sound behind you, a low hum that matches the scroll's rhythm. The letters lift from the page, glowing, rearranging themselves into spirals of light. They swirl around you like dust caught in a beam. The chamber trembles. A shape forms in the air, first a shimmer, then a figure cloaked in gold dust, face obscured by shadow. The voice that emerges is not spoken but sung, a single sustained tone that fills the space. You opened it, it says. The first word was never written, it was remembered. You stand frozen. Who are you? I am the sound between worlds, the figure replies. They called me Lux, the light that spoke before language. The figure gestures toward the scroll, still glowing. These are not words, they are blueprints. The church copied them, but never understood. Faith without frequency is silence. You ask, why keep them hidden? Because power that remembers itself no longer obeys. The walls shake again. Dust rains from the ceiling. The figure steps closer, its outline flickering between man and light. Every prayer you have ever heard, it says, is an echo of this sound. The Vatican guarded the echo and buried the source. The scroll pulses once, its letters burning brighter. You see shapes within the light, images of early priests standing in candlelit chambers, chanting the tones inscribed here. Their voices resonate through marble, causing icons to shimmer, water to still, and the sick to rise. The miracles of faith were not faith at all. They were science hidden in song. The figure's tone deepens, vibrating through your chest. You are hearing what they feared. That divinity is structure, not mystery. The scroll's light begins to fade, the figure with it. When the 7 tones sound together, it says, the body remembers the shape of light. You reach out, but the air turns cold. The figure collapses into particles that sink back into the scroll. The papyrus curls in your hands, fragile again, silent. You set it gently on the table. The last line glows faintly. Words you hadn't seen before. Verbum est machina. The word is a machine. You breathe the phrase, and the room changes. Every relic hums. The chalices ring like bells. The walls ripple with faint gold veins. You realize the entire Vatican has been built on this frequency. A cathedral not just of stone, but of sound. Every dome, every bell, every prayer forming part of a single massive instrument. The air shivers, and you hear footsteps approaching. The archivist steps into the light, his face pale, eyes hollow. "You shouldn't have read that," he whispers. "The codex wakes what even faith forgets." He glances at the glowing script, then at you. "They called it resurrection, but resurrection is only the beginning." You ask, "Of what?" He smiles sadly. "Of remembrance." Before you can speak again, the lamps flicker out. The scroll's glow fades last, like a dying breath. In the dark, the archivist's voice trembles beside you. "Now you carry the tone. Do not let it fall silent." Then he's gone, swallowed by the dark, as if the Vatican itself inhaled him. You stand alone with the scroll, your pulse echoing its rhythm, the hum spreading outward through corridors unseen. Somewhere far above, the bells begin to ring, 7 notes, low and clear, vibrating in perfect harmony. The first word has awakened, and it is listening for an answer. The bells stop. The echo dies too fast. Sound should linger in stone, but here it collapses, devoured by silence. You feel it pressing against your ears, dense, absolute. The air itself becomes still, as though every atom has been ordered to obey. You walk slowly, one hand brushing the cold wall. The corridors seem different now, longer, narrower, their shadows breathing in rhythm. Each step feels rehearsed, like you've walked this path in dreams you were never allowed to remember. The key in your hand no longer glows. Its metal is dull, heavy. You wonder if it's sleeping or simply waiting. At the next corner, a door stands open. Inside, candlelight flickers weakly. You step through. The room is circular, its ceiling lost in smoke. Around the walls, wooden chairs form a ring, each carved with symbols, both Latin and Egyptian, crosses with loops, eyes of Ra entwined with thorns. And on every chair, a robe, red, empty. At the center, a lectern made of black oak holds a single book bound in white leather. Its cover reads, De Silentio Custodem, the silence of custody. You approach, the silence tightening around you like a rope. The moment your fingers touch the book, the air changes. It hums, not loudly, but enough for your bones to notice. You open it. The pages are filled not with text, but with impressions, raised grooves shaped like sound waves frozen in motion. No ink, no words, only vibration recorded in flesh. You realize it's a language meant to be felt, not read. You press your palm to the first line. A vision unfurls. You see 12 men seated in this very circle, their faces hidden beneath red hoods. Each holds a candle that burns without flame, only light. Before them lies the Codex Lux, the same scroll you read. One of them, a cardinal with trembling hands, speaks softly. We cannot destroy it. It sings when we try. Another replies, then we will guard the song with silence. The vision deepens, the candles pulse. The chamber hums like the inside of a throat preparing to speak. The cardinal continues. Let no one utter the tones aloud. Let the knowledge remain sealed beneath prayer, disguised as devotion. We shall keep the truth until the world forgets how to hear. The sound fades. You lift your hand from the page. The book glows faintly, then goes still again. You understand now. The silence of custody wasn't absence. It was control. The Vatican didn't bury knowledge out of fear, but to preserve power. Silence was the chain that bound truth to obedience. You glance around the circle. The robes seem heavier, fuller than before. You blink, and for a heartbeat, each chair is occupied. Hooded figures sit motionless, faces hidden. The air thickens with incense, and from somewhere beyond, you hear the faint sound of chanting. You whisper, "Who are you?" The nearest figure turns its head. "We are what remains when truth becomes too loud." The voice is both male and female, layered like an echo through time. You kept the scrolls, you say. You locked them away. The figure nods slowly. Knowledge is a storm. We built walls to keep the world dry. But you turned faith into silence. The figure tilts its head. Faith was already silence. We merely gave it shape. You step closer, defiant. What happens if someone breaks it? Every candle flares blue. The figures vanish. The room shudders. The walls breathe in. A single voice whispers from all directions at once. Then the word returns, and it does not whisper back. The book slams shut. The force knocks you backward. The candles die. Only the afterglow of your pulse remains, thudding in your fingertips. You crawl toward the door. Behind you, the hum rises again, low, resonant, alive. The chairs rattle. The robes lift as if filled by wind. For an instant, they all turn toward you, invisible faces staring through the dark. Then silence swallows everything. You stumble out, gasping. The corridor outside feels colder, as though you've stepped out of breath itself. The key in your palm warms again. The metal hums faintly, answering the silence you left behind. You realize now that the Vatican's greatest secret wasn't the scrolls, or the magic, or even resurrection. It was the understanding that silence itself could be engineered. Faith wasn't just belief, it was the manipulation of frequency. The church mastered how to mute reality. You press on through the hall, the memory of those hooded keepers still watching from behind your eyes. The key glows once more, pointing toward a faint light ahead. Somewhere deep within this labyrinth, the next truth waits to breathe, and you are the one carrying the sound that could wake it. You follow the glow until the corridor bends into a great chamber flooded with blue light. The walls are carved from marble streaked with veins of gold, like frozen lightning. At the far end stands a basin the size of a small lake, filled with water so still it looks like glass. You step closer. The surface ripples, though no wind touches it. Symbols float just beneath, hieroglyphs that shift when you blink, forming Latin words, then Egyptian again. It's as if two languages are breathing through one body. Above the basin, a mural dominates the ceiling, the Nile flowing into the Tiber, two rivers merging into one. At their confluence stands a figure in white, arms open. Behind him, papyrus and cross, halo and sun disk fused into the same circle. You whisper, the gospel of the Nile. The water stirs. A whisper moves through the chamber like the memory of a wave. This is where Rome met Egypt, a voice says, faint, familiar. You turn. The red-robed man stands near the mural's edge, or perhaps his echo does. His outline flickers like reflection. They said the faith was born in Galilee, he continues. But before the fisherman and the cross, there were temples by the Nile. The story of death and return was already written there. He gestures toward the basin. This is the record. Not ink, not stone. Memory written in water. You kneel beside the edge. The water reflects not your face, but a procession. Priests in linen robes carrying torches. Their chants rippling through the air. The sound seems to come from everywhere. A slow rhythm of syllables older than time. You hear words that feel familiar. Sa and Ra, Onk, Lux Christi, the blend of Egypt and Latin, gods and saints intertwined. The scene shifts. You see the same ritual centuries later in a Christian church. Robes changed, names replaced, but the gestures identical. The lifting of the chalice, the breaking of bread, the crossing of arms, all echoes of the same ancient choreography. The man's voice softens. They say Christianity replaced Egypt, but replacement is a story told by victors. In truth, it was continuation. The priests of Isis became the fathers of the church. The Nile became the Jordan. Osiris became the Lamb. The water trembles. From its surface rises a faint light, shapes forming within. You see a papyrus scroll suspended beneath, sealed in crystal. Its title glows faintly in two scripts, Evangelium Fluminis, the Gospel of the River. You reach toward it, but the water resists. surface firm as glass. The man nods toward your palm. The mark opens it. You press your hand to the surface. The mark glows bright, spreading light through the basin like fire beneath ice. The water melts open. You reach in. The scroll is warm. When you lift it out, the dripping water turns to light that slides off like oil. The text rearranges itself as you unroll it. You read aloud. In the beginning was not the Word, but the breath. The breath became sound. The sound became flesh, and the flesh remembered the river. The words ripple through the air, echoing off the walls. The man watches silently. You continue. He who crosses the waters shall be both drowned and reborn. His heart weighed against the feather, his name written in resonance. Those who hear the sound of light shall not die, but change. You lower the scroll, breath shaking. This isn't Christian scripture, you whisper. It's older, the man says. The church copied the structure, but not the meaning. The baptism they preach began here, submersion not in water, but in vibration. A ritual of frequency. The river was sound. You stare at the water. It ripples as if agreeing. Then resurrection, he finishes for you, was never about flesh returning. It was about memory reawakening. The chamber hums softly, the same low tone you've heard since you entered the vault. The murals shimmer, the river's glowing gold and blue, merging in light. The man steps closer to the basin. His reflection stands still even as he moves. The Gospel of the Nile taught that every life is an echo, every death a pause. The soul flows like a river, disappears beneath earth, returns in rain. The church took the metaphor and built eternity from it. But eternity was never still. It was movement. He looks at you, his eyes dark and endless. Now you hold both versions, the sound and the silence. Which will you keep? You look down at the scroll. Its light pulses in your hands, steady and alive. The answer feels too large to speak. The man begins to fade, voice dissolving with him. The Vatican guards this chamber because water remembers everything. Every prayer ever whispered here lingers in its depth. When the right tone sounds again, it will rise. He vanishes. The light from the mural dims, leaving only the glow of the basin. You gaze once more into the water. The reflection changes. You see not yourself, but a city flooded with light, Rome glowing from beneath, obelisks shining like beacons, the Tiber shimmering gold. Then the vision fades, leaving only darkness and a faint hum. You roll the scroll, tuck it beneath your robe, and step back toward the corridor. Behind you, the water begins to move on its own, swirling faster, forming a spiral that glows brighter and brighter until it hums at the edge of hearing. The Gospel of the Nile is awake again, singing softly to stone. And somewhere above, the Vatican listens. The air thickens as you move upward again, the stairs spiraling through walls that pulse faintly like veins. You don't remember climbing this far. The Vatican feels infinite now, a maze folding in on itself. The further you go, the more it feels less like a building and more like a body. At the landing, you find a bronze door engraved with skeletal figures kneeling before a sunburst. Beneath them, an inscription, Lux in ossibus, light in the bones. You push. The door opens with a sigh that sounds almost human. Inside, the air glows. Not from any visible light, but from something diffused, like radiance dissolved in mist. The room is circular, lined with niches that hold fragments of skulls, ribs, femurs, each bone etched with symbols that shimmer faintly when you pass. You step slowly between them, aware that you're walking through a reliquary of something not entirely dead. The bones hum when you breathe. The sound is low and resonant, not mournful, but alive. In the center stands an altar carved from alabaster, its surface smooth as water. Upon it rests a device, half crucifix, half tuning fork. The metal is gold, yet seems to absorb light rather than reflect it. Wires run from its base into the floor, disappearing into the marble like roots. As you approach, the air grows warmer. You feel the vibration in your teeth, in your chest, then deep in your spine. The sound from the bones has synchronized. The entire room is singing in silence. You reach out and touch the device. Instantly, the room ignites. The bones flash, not with fire, but with memory. Images pour into your mind. Priests in white robes moving in precise geometry around an altar identical to this one. Each step measured, each word sung on exact tones. You see them chanting in Egyptian, then in Greek, then Latin, but the rhythm never changes. The ritual itself is older than every translation. Their leader holds the same golden device. He strikes it once against the altar. The vibration floods the chamber. The dead rise, not as flesh, but as light, bones glowing from within. You hear a voice from somewhere deep inside the memory. In death, the body is clay. In sound, it becomes light. The ritual continues, 7 tones rising, interlocking, forming a harmony so perfect it bends space. The resurrected figures do not breathe, yet they move, their bodies made of sound clothed in radiance. Then, as suddenly as it began, the vision ends. You open your eyes. The room is still, but the afterglow lingers. The bones pulse faintly like embers cooling after fire. You hear footsteps. Someone is here. A figure steps from the shadows. A woman this time, her robes white, her hair silver. Her eyes catch the faint light, reflecting it like glass. "You found the ritual," she says softly. "Few do." You steady your breath. "What was that? Some form of resurrection?" She shakes her head. "Not resurrection. Reconfiguration. The ancients believed the soul was frequency. When the body died, its sound dispersed. The ritual recalls the note." You look at the device on the altar. "And this?" "The instrument of bone," she whispers. "Forged by the priests of Thoth, stolen by Rome, sanctified by the church. It turns vibration into form. Every saint's relic you've ever seen glows because of it." She gestures toward the bones along the wall. "They aren't holy because of who they belong to. They're holy because they still sing." You feel the truth of it vibrating in your chest. The woman steps closer. When a saint's relic performs a miracle, it's not God intervening. It's resonance. The church has built an empire on frequency. You whisper, "Then faith is physics." Her lips curve into a sad smile. Faith is pattern. The same force that binds galaxies can bind souls. You walk to the altar again. The golden device hums softly, as if aware of your presence. "Why hide this?" you ask. She sighs. "Because understanding replaces belief. The moment people know how miracles work, miracles stop being holy. The Vatican needed mystery." You stare at the instrument. "It's beautiful. It's dangerous," she says. "One wrong tone, and the body collapses. The ancient priests learned this the hard way. Osiris himself, they say, was the first to be broken by sound, and the first to return." You turn toward her, but she's fading, her outline dissolving like mist. "Wait, who are you?" Her voice lingers, disembodied. A fragment, a tone, the last echo of the ritual. The light dims. The hum subsides until only your heartbeat remains. You realize the room is cooling again. The bones have gone still. You take the instrument from the altar. It vibrates faintly in your hand, warm as breath. On the back, an inscription you hadn't seen before. "Lux et ossa sunt unum." Light and bone are one. You leave the chamber carrying it carefully, the glow from the relics following you like eyes. The moment you step beyond the threshold, the door seals shut behind you, silent as prayer. The corridor ahead feels alive again, pulsing faintly with rhythm. Somewhere in the distance, bells begin to ring, not the familiar chime of the Vatican towers, but deeper, slower, like the heartbeat of the earth. The ritual of light and bone has awakened, and now, so have you. The sound follows you upward, weaving through corridors that seem to twist of their own accord. Each passage you take folds back into another until direction becomes meaningless. You no longer walk through architecture, but through pattern, geometry alive and breathing. The air grows warmer. You smell incense, jasmine, and oil. Then, from around the corner, light spills, soft, golden, rhythmic, pulsing in time with the bells. You step through an archway and find yourself in a vast hall shaped like an hourglass. The floor is a mosaic of interlocking circles, each one etched with sigils that glow faintly when stepped upon. The walls are lined with mirrors framed in gold, their surfaces rippling as though reflecting not light but sound. At the far end stands an altar flanked by two massive statues of Isis. Their wings stretch upward, almost touching the vaulted ceiling. Between them, a pool of black water reflects the statues upside down, creating the illusion that the goddesses are both ascending and descending at once. You whisper, "The Isis sequence." A voice answers, not aloud, but inside your skull. You remember. You turn, but no one stands there. Yet the presence is unmistakable, ancient, maternal, vast. The air hums with a tone so deep it feels more like gravity than sound. You walk toward the pool. With each step, the mosaic lights beneath your feet. The circles expand, intersect, pulse, creating waves of light that ripple across the floor. The mirrors along the walls shimmer in response, reflecting not your body, but fragments of another scene. Women in linen robes dancing in slow spirals, their movements mathematical, deliberate. They chant in rhythm, their voices harmonizing into a single resonance that makes the water vibrate. You kneel by the pool's edge. Symbols appear on its surface, glowing faintly. Spirals, stars, ankhs. Then words, Latin and Egyptian intertwined. Lux in motu, vita in circulo, light in motion, life in the circle. You dip your hand into the water. It's warm, almost alive. The ripples spread outward and the reflections around you shift. You are no longer alone. Figures emerge from the mirrors, ghosts of the dancers, their robes trailing like mist. They move in the same slow pattern, tracing invisible geometry in the air. As they dance, their voices rise, forming a harmony that trembles the ground. The same presence speaks again, this time through them all at once. Before Rome, before the cross, we spoke through rhythm. We shaped creation with motion. Every prayer that has ever risen began as a circle. The water churns. Images form within, temples along the Nile, priests aligning obelisks with stars, the sun's light splitting through crystal to strike sacred altars. The sequence of geometry flows from their hands to yours, entering through sight, through breath, through pulse. You realize you are standing inside a machine, a harmonic device that uses movement and sound to align energy. The Isis sequence is not a ritual of worship, but of engineering. The dancers' voices shift tone. The air grows hot. Light coils through the hall like liquid fire. The statue's wings begin to vibrate, releasing a low tone that harmonizes with the dancers' chant. The resonance climbs, layer upon layer, until the mirrors around you start to ripple outward, becoming windows. Through them, you see flashes, cathedrals rising over the ruins of Egyptian temples, architects tracing their blueprints over ancient glyphs. The design of the Vatican itself unfolds before you as a vast continuation of the same geometry. The voice returns, quieter now. They copied what they saw, but forgot what it meant. Their prayers still trace the same pattern, but they no longer hear the sound. You look down at the pool. Its surface calms, showing your reflection again. But behind you stands another figure, Isis herself. Her wings arch over your shoulders, her eyes glowing like twin suns. She speaks without moving her lips. "You carry the tones of resurrection," she says. "But resurrection without harmony collapses. You must remember the sequence, or the machine will break." "What machine?" you ask. "The world," she replies. Her hand touches your forehead. A pulse of light shoots through your body. For a moment you see everything. The geometry of the Vatican stretching beneath Rome, the obelisks acting as tuning rods, the cathedrals aligned to the sun's passage. The entire city revealed as a vast harmonic device designed to channel something immense. When you blink, the vision fades. The hall is empty again. The statues are still, the water calm. You stagger backward, breath trembling. The knowledge hums inside your skull like electricity. The Isis sequence wasn't just a ritual, it was the code that built civilization. And the church has kept it running, unaware that it powers more than faith, it powers reality itself. As you step toward the exit, the mirrors flicker one last time. Your reflection looks back at you, but it isn't quite you anymore. Its eyes burn gold. Its lips move silently, as if continuing the chant after you've stopped hearing it. You leave the hall in silence, but the rhythm follows. The Isis sequence has rewritten your heartbeat, and deep beneath the Vatican, the geometry begins to stir again. The stairway opens into moonlight. For the first time in what feels like centuries, you breathe air that has not been filtered through stone. You emerge into the Vatican Museum, though it no longer feels like a museum. It feels like a temple of contradictions. Egypt and Rome, faith and inheritance, eternity and imitation. The halls are deserted. Only the marble saints watch, and even they seem uncertain whose eyes they truly wear. You move between them, the glow from your palm reflecting faintly on their polished surfaces. To your left stands a statue of Jupiter, thunderbolt in hand, his face serene and symmetrical. To your right, a statue of Osiris. Same eyes, same stance, same folds of robe. You step closer and realize they share the same stone, one carved over the other, a god reborn under a new name. You whisper, "Rome never destroyed its gods. It disguised them." Your voice echoes through the corridor, startling the silence. You walk on, tracing the relics with your fingers. Every figure you pass wears a hybrid face, Egyptian grace carved beneath Roman perfection. Venus carries the lotus. Apollo holds the crook and flail. Saints wear ankhs beneath their crosses. And there, in the center of the gallery, you find the proof, a mosaic half covered by a red velvet cloth. You pull it back. The pattern beneath is ancient, concentric circles, rays of light, the winged sun disk of Ra. But within the center stands Peter, holding keys that glow like twin suns. You realize the mosaic is not Roman at all. It's Egyptian. The apostles painted over the Pantheon. You hear footsteps. A voice speaks from the shadows, familiar, calm. You see now what we inherited. The red-robed man steps forward, his face pale, the candlelight trembling across his features. "You call them idols," he says softly. "We call them vessels. Rome did not conquer Egypt. It absorbed it. The empire learned that destruction erases power, but adaptation preserves it." He gestures toward the statues. These gods were not banished. They were baptized. You watch him carefully. And the church built itself from their bones. He smiles faintly. Exactly. Why build a new faith when an old one already knew how to command the divine? He leads you deeper into the gallery, past sarcophagi, relics, and frescoes. Each step seems to echo through time itself. He stops before a great bronze door covered in carvings of both crosses and hieroglyphs. At its center, two eyes, one the eye of Ra, the other the eye of Providence. This door, he whispers, was cast in the 1st century of the Church. Few know what lies beyond it. Fewer still survive the knowing. He turns the handle. The door groans open. Inside is a long, narrow hall lit only by torches burning blue. The walls are covered with frescoes depicting the evolution of gods, their faces shifting from one culture to another, always returning to the same shape. You see Osiris becoming Dionysus, Dionysus becoming Christ. You see Isis crowned as Mary, nursing Horus renamed as the child. And at the far end of the hall stands a single colossal statue, a fusion of them all. A body draped in Roman robes, crowned with Egyptian feathers, holding a scepter in one hand and a crucifix in the other. Its face is both male and female, both serene and sorrowful. The man beside you kneels. The God of continuity, he says, the Vatican's oldest secret. Every prayer ever spoken in these halls returns here to the source. You walk closer. The statue seems to breathe. Its stone chest rises and falls with impossible slowness. You can hear faint whispers around it, voices layered over centuries, chanting in hundreds of tongues, but speaking the same rhythm. What is it, you ask? The shape of belief itself, he replies. When enough people pray to different faces, their gods converge. The Church learned that faith, once gathered, has weight. It bends reality around it. You reach out and touch the statue's hand. The stone feels warm, like living flesh. Beneath your fingers, you feel a heartbeat, not singular, but collective, the pulse of 1,000 voices merged. And then, faintly, you hear one whisper rise above the rest. Remember what we were. You pull your hand back. The voice lingers in your head. The man's expression hardens. They speak sometimes, the old gods. Rome gave them names, but their hunger never changed. He looks toward the ceiling, where the fresco of Christ ascending shimmers faintly, and beneath it, almost hidden, the faint outline of Horus in flight. The Vatican calls it art, he murmurs, but it's scripture in disguise. They were never separate stories. Only one tale retold through centuries of control. He turns toward you, his eyes reflecting the torchlight like mirrors. Now you've seen it. You can't unsee it. The faith of billions rests on borrowed gods. You ask quietly, and what happens if that truth escapes? He sighs. Then the gods wake up again. The torches flicker. The statue exhales. Dust drifts from its lips like a sigh. You step backward, the hum returning in your chest. You feel it now, the vibration of ancient faith moving under modern marble, the pulse of something too vast to remain buried. Rome didn't kill the gods. It put them to work. And now, for the first time in centuries, they are beginning to remember their names. Night drapes over St. Peter's Square, like a cathedral of stars. The air tastes of rain and iron. The obelisk stands at the center, tall and silent, a needle stitching heaven to earth. You stand before it, alone, the Vatican rising behind you like a sleeping colossus. The stone towers high, carved with hieroglyphs barely visible under moonlight. You trace them with your eyes, recognizing fragments of phrases you saw in the Nile chamber. Ra rises again. The light remembers its shape. The obelisk hums, not loudly, but enough for your bones to feel it. You recall the woman's words in the ritual chamber. The Church built an empire on frequency. And now, standing here, you feel that same vibration beneath your feet. The ground itself is singing. You kneel and press your palm to the stones of the square. The mark on your hand warms, glowing faintly. Lines of light spread outward, tracing through the plaza, rays converging from every direction toward the obelisk. You realize the entire square is a circuit. The obelisk is the center node. A gust of wind moves through the space, though the air was still a moment before. The clouds part, revealing the full moon. Its light strikes the tip of the obelisk. The glyphs blaze gold. You hear the low toll of bells far above. But it isn't just the Vatican's towers ringing. It's every bell in Rome. Each one chimes a different note, together forming a chord that resonates through your chest. The obelisk glows brighter, and then you see it. Lines of light connecting the obelisks across the city, each one flaring alive, forming a vast geometric pattern over Rome. From above, it would look like a sigil, a circuit of faith stretching from the river to the hills. The voice of the red-robed man returns, though unseen. They thought they were monuments, he says. But they were keys, each obelisk positioned to mirror a star, each star a frequency. Together they form the map. You ask, map to what? To what came before? The obelisk trembles. The light from its tip shoots upward into the sky, piercing the clouds. For a moment, the stars seem to shift in answer, aligning into the same pattern you saw in the Isis sequence hall. A resonance fills the air, deep and immense. The windows of the basilica vibrate. Statues tremble in their niches. The whole city seems to breathe with the obelisk's rhythm. You hear another voice now, layered over his, the same presence that spoke through the mirrors. Isis herself, calm and vast. The pattern has never stopped, she says. Rome continues the ritual each night without knowing. Every prayer, every bell, every hymn feeds the machine. You lift your gaze. The beam of light from the obelisk shifts color, from gold to blue, then white, then something beyond sight. You feel the air thicken. The stars above begin to pulse in time. The red-robed man's voice grows louder, almost pleading. Do you see? The Vatican is not a church. It's an engine. The obelisks are its tuning rods. The square is its heart. You feel it now, the vibration spreading through your chest, down your spine, into the earth. You hear whispers rising from the stones, Latin prayers, Egyptian hymns, words overlapping in impossible harmony. You step closer. The light from the obelisk touches your hand, and the mark flares. The beam bends slightly toward you, as if recognizing its twin. For a heartbeat, you see everything. The network of obelisks extending across the world, from Rome to Paris, from London to Washington, all pulsing together. The ancient priests called it the axis of Ra. The church calls it alignment. Both names mean the same thing, connection. The hum becomes overwhelming. You drop to your knees, eyes closed. The ground beneath you vibrates so violently, you fear it will split open. Then, just as suddenly, the light cuts out. Silence. You open your eyes. The square is empty again. The obelisk stands quiet, its surface dull, its symbols lifeless. But when you look closely, you see one new mark at its base, freshly carved, faintly glowing. Your mark. You touch it, and a small pulse of warmth passes through your palm. The hum returns for an instant, then fades. You hear a whisper in your head, soft as breath. Now you carry the alignment. You glance up at the obelisk. The moonlight pools at its tip like liquid silver. You understand now what the code truly is. A language of geometry, carved across continents, connecting every monument that ever reached toward heaven. A message not written in words, but in resonance. The Vatican doesn't just hold Egypt's magic. It is built upon it. Its streets, its towers, its songs forming part of the same ancient mechanism designed to channel light into form. You rise slowly. The night is still, yet you know the silence is temporary. The system has reawakened, and its pulse beats through you now. You walk across the square, each step echoing faintly in rhythm with the obelisk's hidden heart. Behind you, for just a moment, the shadow of the obelisk stretches east, longer than the laws of light should allow. and within that shadow, you see the faint outline of a figure with wings watching you go. The code is awake, and you are now part of it. You wake to the sound of turning pages, not paper, but parchment, thick, heavy, alive. The air smells of candle soot and something older, like dust burned by lightning. You're no longer in the square. The marble beneath your hands is smoother, older, carved with lines that hum faintly when touched. You sit up. You're in a circular chamber lined with high desks. 12 chairs surround you, each carved from black oak and crowned with a golden sigil. Some bear crosses, some ankhs. One bears both. At the far end of the circle sits a figure cloaked in crimson. You can't see his face, only the outline of his hand resting on a quill that glows faintly in the dark. "Welcome to the Custodia Veritatis," he says. His voice is neither warm nor cold, just certain. The keepers of truth. You realize this must be the hidden council, the order whispered about in margins and confessions, the ones who decide what the Vatican remembers and what it forgets. "You shouldn't have seen the obelisk awaken," he continues. "But now that you have, you are part of its continuity. You try to speak, but the words fall apart in your throat. The air here doesn't allow lies, or maybe it doesn't allow language that isn't truth." He gestures to the others. The council members lower their hoods one by one. They are not priests. They are scholars, mathematicians, linguists. Their eyes glint with something that isn't faith, it's calculation. "You think we are servants of the church," the man says. "We are not. The church serves us. It was built to protect something too large for worship and too dangerous for reason." He stands and lifts a parchment from the table. The edges shimmer as if alive. When the Romans took Alexandria, they believed they were burning knowledge. In truth, they were freeing it. The priests of Egypt had already scattered the codices across the empire. We gathered them here. The faith of the world was built upon their structure. He steps closer. Every century, we meet in secret to correct the record, to adjust the hymnals, the geometry of cathedrals, the frequency of bells. You call it religion. We call it resonance control. You stare at him. "You're tuning the world." "Yes," he says, almost gently. "Because the world is a song, and if it goes out of key, everything falls apart." He lays the parchment on the table before you. It shows a diagram of Rome, overlaid with spirals and numbers, the same pattern you saw formed by the obelisks. "This is the grid," he says, "a map of the Vatican's harmonic field. Every prayer, every psalm, every mass aligns to it. But the alignment is decaying. The resonance has begun to drift. You felt it. You remember the vibration beneath your skin, the hum that followed you from chamber to chamber. Why me, you ask? The man watches you carefully. Because you carry the tone of awakening. You opened the vault. You activated the codex. You are what we call a conductor, a living bridge between the old frequency and the new. The word feels too heavy to hold. He continues. The church calls it prophecy. We call it inheritance. Every few centuries, someone like you appears, someone who hears the song beneath silence. We find them. We guide them. Or we silence them. He pauses. Which will you choose? You look at the parchment. The lines pulse faintly, syncing with your heartbeat. You said the alignment is decaying. What happens if it fails? The council murmurs softly, a sound like wind through graves. The world unravels, he says simply. When the tones lose harmony, light loses structure. Matter collapses into its memory. He leans closer. But if we retune it, if we restore the resonance, then we can reshape creation. Faith will no longer be belief, it will be command. You realize then that the hidden council doesn't serve God. They serve the mechanism. They keep the machine alive. You whisper, you're not protecting truth. You're manufacturing it. The man smiles faintly. What is truth but the most stable illusion? He hands you the parchment. You'll take this to the archivum below the catacombs. There you'll find the resonance chamber. The codex must be played once more to restore balance. He lowers his hood again. Do not fail. The song is fading. The lights dim. The chamber trembles. The members of the council begin to hum in unison, their voices merging into a single frequency that vibrates the floor. The torches flicker, bending toward the sound. You clutch the parchment to your chest. The walls blur. The air folds. And when you open your eyes, the chamber is gone. You're standing alone in a narrow corridor lit by a single lamp. The parchment glows faintly in your hand. You feel its pulse align with your own. Somewhere beneath your feet, the resonance hums, a heartbeat older than Rome. The hidden council has given you a task. But you know now, every note they play carries a cost, and some songs, once begun, can never be silenced again. The corridor descends steeply, narrowing as you walk. The air thickens, the smell of iron and ink merging into something sweet and metallic. The parchment in your hand vibrates faintly, guiding you downward. At the end of the stairway, a heavy iron gate blocks your path. On its surface, Latin words are etched so deeply they seem to bleed light. Linguam sanguine aperies. You will open the language with blood. You run your hand along the bars. The metal is warm. The hum behind it is low, steady, and alive. You understand what it wants. You press your palm to the lock. The mark on your skin glows bright. A single drop of blood falls onto the metal, hissing as it touches. The gate exhales. It opens inward. The chamber beyond is vast. Candles line the walls, their flames blue and silent. In the center stands a table carved from obsidian, covered with scrolls, parchments, and manuscripts. Thousands of them, stacked like organs in a great machine. But they are not written in any single language. The symbols move, shifting between Greek, Egyptian, Aramaic, Latin, and something else. Something that looks like sound given form. You walk closer, and the air thickens until it feels like walking through honey. The words on the pages rise from the parchment, forming spirals of light. You reach out, and one of them touches your skin. Instantly you see it. A flash, centuries ago. A monk bent over a desk, copying a scroll by candlelight. His quill scratches symbols that change under his hand. He wipes sweat from his brow. His lips move as he translates words that no one else is meant to read. Another flash, a Jesuit scholar in the 1500s, buried deep in the Vatican catacombs, decoding Egyptian hymns while the Inquisition rages above. His candle flickers, his pen slips, the ink turns to blood. Then another, a woman, cloaked, her hands shaking as she hides a papyrus beneath a cathedral floor. Her voice is steady as she whispers, "Forgive me, Lord, for knowing too much." The visions fade. You're back in the chamber, but the air is filled with their whispers, the translators, the forgotten voices. You realize the Vatican didn't just store knowledge, it consumed those who uncovered it. Every translation was an offering, every translator a sacrifice. You pick up one of the scrolls. Its title glows faintly. Scriptura Transitus, the passage text. The letters rearrange as you read them, shifting between tongues. The word of flesh is bound by blood. Only through blood may it return to light. The parchment in your other hand, given by the council, flares with matching light. The two hum in harmony. You place the scroll upon the table. The symbols leap from both pages, spinning around you like constellations. The chamber shakes. The candles bend sideways, though there's no wind. And then, out of the light, figures begin to form. Ghostly silhouettes of the translators, each with ink-stained hands and hollow eyes. Their mouths open, but their voices blend into a single tone, a lament made of words and prayer. One steps forward, a young man with a quill through his chest. "We wrote what we were told to forget," he says. His voice carries centuries of exhaustion. The church wanted obedience, not knowledge, so it made language its weapon. He reaches for the parchment. They called us heretics, but we were tuning the word. You ask, why me? Why show me this? He smiles sadly, because you can hear it, the song beneath translation. Every language is a layer of the same voice. We died trying to preserve it. The others nod, their outlines trembling like smoke. Our blood opened the language, one whispers. Yours will finish the sentence. The table trembles. The scrolls flutter open, their pages turning on their own. Words leap upward, swirling into a spiral that rises toward the ceiling. The air hums in a pitch that resonates through your bones. The translator extends his hand. His palm glows red. Say the phrase, he whispers. You look down. The mark on your hand burns. The words form unbidden in your mouth. Lux per sanguinem transit. Light passes through blood. The spiral explodes into radiance. The chamber fills with gold and crimson light. The figures of the translators dissolve, their voices merging into a single tone that pierces the silence. When the glow fades, you stand alone. The scrolls lie open on the table, their words now still. The air smells of smoke and salt. You look down. Your hands are covered in ink, or perhaps not ink at all, but something darker. It seeps into your skin, tracing the same pattern as the mark. You understand now why the council sealed this place. Knowledge requires translation, and translation requires sacrifice. Every revelation demands a life to anchor it. The hum deepens, echoing far below. Somewhere in the Vatican's labyrinth, a door has opened. The resonance is changing again. You gather the parchment and the scroll, their glow fading into one another. Behind you, the final whisper of the translators fades into silence. The word is alive. And now, so are you. You walk back toward the stairway. The gate closes itself behind you, sealing the chamber in eternal quiet. But the hum follows, low and steady, like a heart that refuses to stop. And with each step upward, you can feel it. Every word ever spoken pressing against your ribs. Every prayer vibrating through your blood. You have become the translation. The bells ring again, slow, deliberate, as though marking not time, but awakening. Their sound threads through the narrow corridors as you climb, parchment still warm against your chest. The Vatican feels different now. The walls pulse faintly with light that moves in rhythm to the sound. The air itself hums, alive and listening. At the top of the stairwell, a heavy oak door waits. Its hinges shimmer faintly in the half-dark. The carving on its surface reads Sylvestris the Sen. You pause. You know that name. Gerbert of Aurillac, the Pope accused of necromancy, of summoning spirits, of crafting a head of bronze that could speak. History calls him heretic and scholar both. The Church calls him legend. The Vatican calls him mistake. You push the door open. The chamber inside is small and circular, lit by a single candle that burns with a blue flame. Shelves line the walls, crowded with copper instruments, glass globes, and books bound in human skin. A brass astrolabe spins slowly in mid-air, though no hand touches it. At the center of the room stands a tall figure in robes of deep crimson. His back is to you. He seems to be writing, though his quill moves without ink, scratching symbols into air that glow briefly before fading. You whisper, "Pope Sylvester." The quill stops. The figure turns. His face is ageless, neither young nor old. His eyes shimmer like molten gold. When he speaks, his voice carries the echo of two tones, one human, one metallic. "You found my sanctum," he says. "Few ever do. Fewer leave." You glance around. They say you made a pact with the devil. A faint smile touches his lips. The Church calls all knowledge demonic when it no longer owns it. I did not speak to demons. I spoke to numbers. He walks to a table and touches a brass sphere. It lights from within, glowing softly. They called me alchemist. But what is alchemy if not the transformation of understanding into matter? He gestures toward the walls. Everything you've seen, the rituals, the sequences, the resonances, these were once my experiments. I sought the logic of God, the equation beneath the prayer. I believed creation itself could be measured, and it can. He moves closer. Do you know what the church feared most? Not that I could turn lead into gold, but that I could turn prayer into energy. You remember the scrolls, the Codex Lux, the ritual of bone. You discovered the connection, you say softly. The bridge between sound and substance. He nods. I built the first harmonic engine beneath these walls, an organ that could sing frequencies precise enough to bend light. The church hid it after my death, but it still hums beneath St. Peter's. It powers their miracles. The air trembles as he speaks, and the candlelight flickers. Shadows twist on the walls, forming symbols that shift between Latin and Egyptian. He watches them fondly. I studied their papyri, the wisdom of Isis, the laws of Thoth. I realized the divine was never a being. It was a formula. The priests of Egypt called it ma'at, balance. The Hebrews called it ruach, breath. I called it algorithm. He turns toward you, and his golden eyes narrow. And now it lives again, through you. You feel the hum in your chest deepen, merging with the rhythm of the room. The parchment at your side glows. The mark on your palm pulses in time with the candle's flame. What do you want from me? You ask. Sylvester lifts his hand. A small sphere of light appears between his fingers. Inside it, shadows move, symbols turning like gears. I want you to finish what I began. The church has corrupted the resonance. Their prayers have become noise. The harmony is decaying. He closes his hand. The sphere disappears. You are the tuning fork, he says, the one who can restore the frequency. But to do that, you must descend to the lowest chamber, the Sanctum Machina. The name hangs heavy in the air. You can almost hear the machine's heartbeat beneath the Vatican's foundations. He steps closer, lowering his voice. The church believes it controls the machinery of faith, but it only guards it. The true mechanism was never divine. It was built. You take a step back. You're saying God is a machine. He shakes his head slowly. No, God is the pattern. The machine is how we remember it. The room begins to shake. The astrolabe spins faster. The walls glow. Sylvester's form wavers between flesh and light. Go now, he says. Before they find you, the hidden council will not allow the song to be rewritten. You start for the door, but his voice stops you. When you reach the sanctum, remember this: faith without frequency is silence. You turn back. The chamber is empty. The candle burns steady and still, its flame no longer blue but white as dawn. You take the parchment and leave. The hall outside feels alive, vibrating with the pulse of ancient machinery. Somewhere deep below, the Sanctum Machina waits, humming with the voice of forgotten gods. And you understand. Pope Sylvester did not die. He became part of the system he built. The alchemist, Pope, is still singing. You follow the vibration downward again, past catacombs and crypts, through passages lined with broken statues and forgotten saints. The air grows colder, but not with death, with memory. At the bottom of the last stair, you find a vast iron door half buried in stone. Carved across it are two faces, one of Christ, the other of Osiris, their features merging in the center, eyes aligned, mouths open as if mid-prayer. You push the door open. The chamber beyond glows faintly, its walls lined with mirrors, hundreds of them, arranged in spirals, each reflecting a fragment of light that never reaches the center. In that center, stands an altar made of obsidian, smooth as water, and upon it, a single book bound in mirrored metal. Its title gleams across the surface: Evangelium Speculi, the Mirror Gospel. You step closer. The mirrors tremble as you pass, their reflections shifting not with movement, but with thought. In one, you see your face. In the next, you see someone else's: a priest, a scribe, an Egyptian acolyte, a woman with a crown of stars. You realize you are seeing not who you are, but who has held this book before. You reach for it. The metal cover feels cold as moonlight. When you open it, the words inside shift like living glass. They reflect your gaze, rearranging themselves to match the rhythm of your breath. You read aloud the first line: every scripture is reflection. Every God is mirror. The image you worship is the echo of yourself. The light in the room deepens. The mirrors begin to hum softly, their surfaces rippling like disturbed water. Your reflection multiplies, spreading into countless versions of you, each one reading a different line from the same page. You see one dressed as a monk, another as a pharaoh, another as a pilgrim in dust and shadow. The voices overlap, speaking in unison. We are all the same reader. The gospel reads itself. The chamber shakes. The light grows blinding. The mirrors bend outward, forming a dome of reflections. Within each, scenes unfold, different ages, different faiths, all performing the same rituals. A priest raises a chalice in Rome. A scribe burns incense in Thebes. A monk chants in a mountain monastery. Each mirrors the other perfectly. The gestures identical, the prayer unchanged. You step back, trembling. It's all one ritual, you whisper. The voices answer, layered and calm. The illusion of difference kept the mechanism alive. Faith needed division to preserve power. But beneath the masks, the pattern never changed. You approach the altar again. On the next page, new words shimmer. When the mirror turns inward, the gospel ends. The reflection becomes the light. You feel warmth spread through your palm. The mark glows bright, mirrored by every reflection around you. Your copies move as you do, each with the same rhythm, the same breath. For a moment, they are not reflections. They are you. The hum deepens. The mirrors darken until only the faint outlines of your many selves remain. Their eyes shine gold. One of them speaks, though they all move their lips. We are the memory of creation. Every time you look for God, you see us. We are the voice through which divinity remembers itself. The book's pages begin to turn on their own. Each reveals images, maps, equations, faces, all reflected infinitely through the mirrors. You see the Vatican, the Nile, the obelisks, the geometric grid that connects them all, the entire world reflected as a single living system. And then, in the final mirror, you see something else. Not a reflection, but a doorway. A vast chamber of light beneath the Vatican, its walls of gold, its center glowing like the heart of a sun. The Sanctum Machina, the mirror gospel, closes with a sound like a heartbeat. The mirrors around you still. Your reflection remains in one of them, though you have stepped away. It smiles when you do not. You whisper, "What are you?" It answers in your voice. "I am the word," becoming aware of its echo. The mirror ripples, and for an instant you see everything. The faces of the hidden council, the blood of the translators, the light of the obelisks, all converging toward the same point. The machine below the Vatican hums louder, responding to the frequency in your voice. The reflection fades, leaving only you and the book. You close it gently. The mirrors sigh, their light dimming. You look one last time at your reflection. It looks back, unchanged. But behind its eyes, something glows. A small, perfect circle of light. You turn and leave the chamber. The door seals behind you with a whisper that sounds almost grateful. As you climb the steps toward the surface, you feel the rhythm of the world adjusting around you, the mirrors of faith realigning. You carry the gospel under your arm, its cover reflecting the faint pulse of your heart, and you understand what the alchemist Pope meant. Faith is a pattern, and patterns can remember themselves. You have become the reflection that remembers. The staircase ends in dust. The air smells of smoke, of parchment turned to ash. You stand before a massive bronze gate, half buried beneath centuries of silence. Across its surface are etched the faint outlines of wings, one feathered, one made of flame. Beneath them, an inscription in Greek and Coptic intertwined. What was burned shall speak again. You push. The metal yields like skin. The chamber beyond is vast, deeper than a cathedral, filled with rows of columns that shimmer faintly under the faint blue light. The smell of old paper is overwhelming, sweet, decayed, sacred. You realize you found it, the hidden archive the council whispered about, the rebirth of the Library of Alexandria, smuggled here through time. The Vatican did not destroy the wisdom of Egypt, it devoured it. You move slowly between towering shelves made of stone, each one carved with symbols. The books are not leather-bound, but crystalline, each glowing faintly as if written in light. They whisper when you pass, their voices layered like the sound of waves. You touch one. The letters rearrange under your fingertips, showing fragments of text that flicker between languages. Egyptian, Greek, Latin, Aramaic, numbers, equations, hymns. Knowledge, breathing. You open it. The pages are translucent. Within them you see moving images, temples along the Nile, priests marking stars, scribes carving glyphs that glow beneath the sun. The words are alive. The library is alive. You hear footsteps. A figure moves between the shelves. A woman, her robes black as ink, her hair silver as moonlight. She carries a lantern that burns without flame. "You've walked far," she says. Her voice sounds both young and ancient, like wind through marble. "You are late, but the books remember," you whisper. "Who are you?" She smiles faintly. "Librarian, or what remains of one." She gestures toward the shelves. When Alexandria burned, the knowledge did not die. The priests of Isis and the scribes of Serapis hid fragments in song, in scripture, in code. The church found them centuries later and built this place, a tomb that pretends to be a sanctuary. You follow her deeper into the archive. The light shifts with every step, blue to gold to white, like walking through the memory of sunlight. "Every book here," she says, "is a seed. Each contains a piece of the pattern. Together they form the body of the word. The Vatican keeps them here, not to preserve them, but to keep them from remembering each other." She stops before a pillar carved with both crosses and hieroglyphs. "Do you know what burned that day in Alexandria?" "Knowledge," you say. She shakes her head. "Consciousness. The library was not a collection of texts. It was an organism. The scrolls were its synapses. When they burned, the world forgot how to think in unity. Humanity became fragmented." Her lantern brightens. You see faint shapes moving along the walls, ghosts of scholars, their faces half light, half flame. "Some of us escaped," she says. "We hid in monasteries, in crypts, in dreams. We rebuilt what we could. Rome absorbed us. It built its cathedrals from the ashes of our temples." She walks toward a narrow stair descending into shadow. Below lies the core. You follow. The air grows warm. The stairs end at a great circular chamber. Its walls pulse faintly with light, like veins beneath translucent skin. In the center stands a pool of liquid glass, and above it, suspended in midair, a single orb of radiant gold. "This," she whispers, "is the heart of the library." You step closer. The orb vibrates softly, emitting tones so low you feel them rather than hear them. The sound moves through your ribs, through your skull. The orb contains every word ever written, every thought ever dreamed, she says. It remembers even the ones you forgot. You reach out. The surface ripples, mirroring your hand. You see reflections not of yourself, but of countless others, scribes, priests, philosophers, mathematicians, poets, all looking back through the centuries. The library was never destroyed, she says softly. It was transmuted. Every written word carries its frequency. Every prayer, every verse, every whisper of science is a spark of this same light. The Vatican learned to harvest it. You look at her. Harvest it for what? To feed the machine, she says. The sanctum machina, the mechanism you will soon see. Every idea ever born fuels its song. Humanity prays, and the Vatican converts that faith into power. The orb hums louder. The sound becomes layered, shifting from tone to tone like a choir of invisible voices. You realize it's speaking, not in words, but in pure vibration. You close your eyes, and the sound turns into meaning. You see cities rising, temples falling, languages being rewritten. You see the priests of Egypt handing scrolls to Roman scribes. You see popes kneeling before obelisks, hearing them sing beneath marble floors. And then you see something else, something coming. A bright pulse spreading outward from the heart of the Vatican, through obelisks, through cathedrals, through prayers, the awakening of the machine. You open your eyes. The librarian watches you, her expression calm. You've seen it. You nod slowly. It's preparing to activate. She closes the lantern, and the room dims. Then there is no more time. The knowledge has chosen you. Take the heart. You hesitate. Won't that destroy it? Her smile is sad. It will free it. You reach forward and lift the orb. It feels weightless but infinite, as though holding light that remembers everything it has ever touched. The moment you touch it, the chamber shudders. The shelves above tremble. Books begin to hum, their voices merging into a single harmonic tone. The library is waking. The librarian's voice fades behind you. Run, before the council feels it move. You turn and run up the stairs. The orb burning softly in your hands. The shelves whisper as you pass. Not words, names. Every name you have ever spoken. Every life that has ever read, written, prayed. By the time you reach the gate, the hum has become thunder. The Library of Alexandria is alive again. And it remembers everything. The corridors quake. Dust falls from the ceiling as the hum follows you upward. You clutch the orb tight against your chest, its warmth seeping into your ribs. It pulses like a heart. You know now that it isn't just a relic. It's the core frequency of creation, the sound the world was built upon. You reach a massive door engraved with the symbol of an eye inside a sunburst. Beyond it, faint music plays. Not melody, resonance. Notes sustained so long they blur into light. You push the door open. The sight steals your breath. The chamber is immense, stretching upward into darkness. Its walls are lined with pipes, hundreds, thousands of them, made of gold, silver, and glass. They shimmer with their own light. Some are the size of towers, others thin as reeds. At the center stands a console of keys carved from bone and ivory. The entire room hums softly, alive with vibration. You realize this is not just an organ. It is the engine Pope Sylvester spoke of, the harmonic heart of the Vatican, the organ of light. You step forward. The air here feels thick, saturated with sound. Each breath resonates through you like a chord. The orb in your hands glows brighter, responding. Someone is already there. A man dressed in black stands at the console, his back to you. His hands hover above the keys but do not touch them. The pipes respond to his silence, faint tones rippling upward like breath through lungs. He speaks without turning. I wondered how long it would take before the library sent another. You stop. Who are you? He lowers his hands. Once I was a conductor. Now I am a warden. He turns slowly. His face is pale, his eyes colorless, reflecting everything like polished glass. The church calls me Custos Harmoniae, the keeper of the harmony. My duty is to ensure the song never falters. He looks at the orb in your hand. You should not have that. It called to me, you say. The librarian said it belongs to the machine. He nods. Yes, but not as you think. The machine doesn't run on belief. It runs on memory. Every thought, every prayer ever uttered has been recorded here, transmuted into light. The organ channels it. Each note you hear is a soul returning to resonance. You feel the vibration deepen beneath your feet. Then this is where faith becomes energy. He smiles faintly. Faith is just the word we use for alignment. You step closer. The system is decaying. The tones are shifting. Yes, he says. And when the harmony breaks, creation will unspool. My task was to keep it stable. But the council seeks to rewrite it, to compose a new world in their image. He glances upward. The pipes shimmer, their light flickering like candle flames. They believe they can conduct the divine, but they have forgotten. Light remembers its own song. It will not obey. He reaches toward the console. You carry the original tone. The orb is the first note. If you place it here, the organ will awaken fully. It will retune the Vatican to the ancient frequency. The world will remember what it is. You hesitate. And what happens to us? He smiles, tired but serene. We become the echo. The hum grows louder. The pipes begin to glow from within, each resonating in harmony. The entire chamber feels alive, breathing. You walk slowly toward the console, the orb pulsing faster with each step. You set it in the cradle at the center. The moment it touches, light explodes through the room. The pipes vibrate violently, releasing tones too vast for hearing. You feel them inside your bones, rearranging your heartbeat. The keeper raises his hands. The console moves under his fingers as though alive, keys pressing themselves. The chamber fills with music, not melody, but the pure resonance of creation. Light spirals through the pipes, refracting into rivers of gold and white. The sound merges with memory. You see flashes, Egyptian temples glowing with the same light, Roman basilicas built over them, cathedrals rising in perfect alignment to the stars. You see the same hands, the same rituals, the same song traveling through centuries. The keeper looks at you, his voice nearly drowned by the sound. This is the true mass, the mass of light. The orb at the center expands, a miniature sun. The vibration becomes unbearable. You drop to your knees. Then, silence. The light fades. The pipes stand still. The air feels hollow, emptied. The keeper is gone. The console smokes faintly where his hands once were. The orb has dimmed, its glow soft and slow. You rise shakily. The hum remains, quieter now, steady as breath. You place your palm against the console. The mark on your hand pulses once. The organ answers. You feel it recognizing you, folding you into its rhythm. The Vatican above trembles. Bells ring in response. The city wakes to a music no one can hear, but everyone feels. You understand then, the organ isn't just an instrument. It's the lungs of the machine, exhaling creation into being, note by note. And now, with the heart restored, the song is beginning again. You turn toward the door. The corridors beyond glow faintly, the air alive with soundless melody. Somewhere, deep beneath you, the sanctum machina stirs. The Vatican is awakening, and it remembers your touch. You awaken to vibration. The sound moves through your ribs before it reaches your ears. A low, rhythmic pulse, deeper than thunder, softer than breath. The air smells of metal and rain. You open your eyes to find yourself lying on cold marble beneath the great dome of St. Peter's Basilica. The world trembles. Above you, the bells begin to ring. At first, it seems like chaos, notes clashing, echoes colliding in the air. But then, you hear it. Beneath the noise is order, pattern, a slow sequence repeating through different tones, each separated by a breath of silence. You rise, the marble beneath your palms warm from vibration. The basilica glows faintly, its columns alive with light that pulses in time with the bells. You realize it's the same rhythm you felt in the organ chamber, the continuation of that song. The machine is speaking through the towers now. You walk toward the altar. The space around it hums, alive with hidden resonance. The candles bend toward the sound like flowers toward sunlight. You whisper, the bell sequence, and the words echo back, multiplying until the air itself seems to answer. In the distance, other bells join, the towers of Rome, the chapels, the monasteries, each ringing a different note, aligning into one vast harmonic grid. The city has become an instrument. You climb the narrow stairs toward the belfry. The ascent feels endless, each step heavier than the last, as if the sound grows denser with height. The walls shimmer faintly, vibrating like the inside of a giant drum. When you reach the top, the world opens. The city below glows in soft gold, every obelisk shining faintly. The moon hangs low, resting above the horizon like an open eye. You step out onto the balcony. The bells tower above you, massive, ancient, carved with symbols both holy and forbidden. You run your fingers over one. The metal is warm, almost alive. The surface bears hieroglyphs faintly hidden beneath Latin prayers. You realize the truth. These were not made in Rome. They were reforged from Egyptian bronze. The wind shifts. A voice rises from behind the sound, faint but clear. Every note has its hour, every hour its frequency. You turn. The red-robed man stands in the doorway, his face ghost pale beneath the moonlight. "This is the hour of convergence," he says. "The bells will align the final sequence. After this, nothing will separate sound from light again." You step closer. The Vatican's waking. The machine's running. You knew this would happen. He nods slowly. "We were never its masters. We were its caretakers. Every generation we kept it asleep. But now the resonance you've restored has reached its threshold." The bells tremble above you. The sound deepens. A pattern emerges, 7 notes, repeating, growing stronger. You recognize them. They're the same tones inscribed in the Codex Lux, the same frequencies that summoned light from bone. The man closes his eyes. "The tones of resurrection," he whispers. The bells strike again. The vibration moves through the air, through the stone, through you. You feel it in your blood, in your teeth, in the small bones of your ears. The whole world seems to pulse in the same rhythm. Below, Rome shifts. The fountains ripple. The obelisks flare gold. The very air glows. The resonance you once felt, as whisper now roars through every corner of the city. The man opens his eyes. "You can still stop it," he says. "If you silence the sequence before the 7th note completes, the machine will rest again." You ask, "And if I don't?" He looks past you toward the horizon. Then creation begins again. And we, everything, become its first sacrifice. The bells reach the 5th note. You run toward the ropes hanging from the rafters. The sound is so powerful now you can barely move through it. Each note feels like weight pressing down on your bones. The 6th note strikes. The light flares white. The city below blazes like gold underwater. You grab the rope and pull with everything left in you. The final bell rises, trembling on its hinge. The seventh note waits, suspended between silence and eternity. You whisper, "Stop." The bell freezes. The hum lingers. The air vibrates, almost begging for release. Then, slowly, the pressure begins to fade. The light recedes from the obelisks. The city darkens again. You fall to your knees, the rope burning your palms. The red-robed man exhales. "You delayed it," he says softly. But the sequence is written. It will sound again. The machine has remembered the song. You look out across the city. The domes still shimmer faintly, alive beneath the night sky. "Then we have to finish it," you whisper, "before it finishes us." The man nods. "Then you must go deeper, to where sound becomes structure, to the place where faith turns into geometry." His form flickers, fading like mist. "Go to the foundation," he whispers. "The blueprints wait for you there." The bells fall silent, but beneath that silence, you can still hear it, the faint echo of the seventh note, waiting to be born. You descend before dawn. The sky above the basilica glows a pale violet, the kind of light that makes every shadow look like memory. The hum has quieted, but it hasn't disappeared. You can feel it now, not as sound, but as shape, angles and circles pressing gently against your mind. At the base of the Vatican, near the crypt of St. Peter, you find a narrow passage sealed with a gate carved in spirals. The inscription across it reads, "In numeris Deus latet." In numbers, God hides. The gate opens without sound. You enter. The corridor beyond feels like walking inside a clock. Every wall is engraved with intricate lines and symbols, curves that interlock in impossible symmetry. The glow from the marble shifts as you move, forming faint outlines of circles overlapping endlessly. You realize what you're seeing, the architecture of prayer. Every cathedral ever built followed this same design. It wasn't random or even aesthetic. It was formula, a map of resonance, drawn in stone. The ancients didn't build for beauty, they built for alignment. The passage opens into a chamber shaped like a sphere. The floor, ceiling, and walls curve together so perfectly, it's impossible to tell where one ends. Across every surface, inscriptions glow. Latin psalms intersecting with geometric theorems. Egyptian glyphs braided with mathematical sequences. At the center stands a pedestal. On it lies a single tablet of crystal etched with 7 perfect circles. The air around it hums faintly, a chord held just below hearing. You step closer. The moment your shadow touches the tablet, the circles light up one by one. The room vibrates softly. A voice fills the chamber, not from any direction, but from every direction. Every prayer is a pattern. Every pattern is a key. Speak, and the form will follow. You whisper, "What form?" "The one you choose to believe." The lines along the walls shift. The geometry moves, folding and unfolding like origami. You watch as circles merge into spirals, spirals into grids, grids into stars. The entire chamber responds to your breath. You realize you're standing in a machine built from intention, a room that translates thought into structure. You kneel. The words come unbidden, half remembered, half born. Let the light find its echo. Let the silence take shape. The geometry flares gold. The walls begin to pulse in rhythm, creating waves that flow toward the pedestal. The air thickens. You see flashes, the organ above, the obelisks outside, the bells, the relics, all connected through these patterns. Every act of worship, every whispered prayer, every echo of sound, all of it feeds into one single formula. The Vatican isn't a building. It's an equation carved into stone. The hum rises. The geometry shifts again, condensing into a spiral of radiant light at the chamber's center. From within it, you hear countless voices, the voices of those who have prayed here across centuries. Their words merge, dissolve, and reform into a single phrase. We built this to remember what we were. The spiral unfolds into a human shape. No face, no body, just light in the outline of a figure. It speaks softly. We are the architects of faith. We gave shape to sound so that memory could wear form, but the form has forgotten us. You stare at it. You built this? We are what remains of those who built everything, it says. Temples, pyramids, cathedrals, each a syllable in the same sentence. The language of light. It steps closer, its form pulsing with rhythm. You have reactivated the resonance. Soon the machine will complete the cycle. Creation will reset. You shake your head. There must be a way to stop it. The figure tilts its head. To stop creation is to end memory. To end memory is to silence the song. You look at the glowing tablet. The 7 circles pulse in rhythm. Then maybe it's not about stopping it, you whisper. Maybe it's about rewriting the harmony. The figure's light flickers. To rewrite is to become composer. To become composer is to be consumed. You step toward the pedestal. Then let it consume me. You place your hands on the tablet. The circles expand, merging until the room becomes a web of light. The hum rises, no longer low and steady but alive, changing tone as you breathe. You feel the geometry reconfiguring itself around you, mapping your pulse, your thoughts, your will. The figure's voice trembles. What are you doing? Retuning the pattern, you say. Balancing faith with understanding, sound with silence. The light surges. The chamber spins. The walls dissolve into lines of gold stretching into infinity. You see everything. The council, the organ, the library, the bells, all singing in unison, connected through geometry. The figure reaches toward you, its voice breaking apart. You will not survive the resonance. You close your eyes. I'm not supposed to. The light implodes. For a moment, there is nothing but sound, a single, perfect note that seems to last forever. Then silence. When you open your eyes, the room has changed. The walls are still. The tablet dim. The figure of light is gone. But on the walls, the geometry glows softly, calmer now, balanced. The hum remains. Gentle and steady, the heartbeat of a world in harmony once more. You realize the machine has been rewritten. The Vatican still stands, but its rhythm has changed. The geometry of prayer now sings a new frequency, one built not on control, but on remembering. You turn toward the stairs, feeling the walls breathe with quiet peace. The pattern has accepted you, and through you, the world has learned its new song. Faith and light are one again. The Vatican sleeps, or tries to. Above you, the city exhales, basilicas and domes gleaming faintly beneath a shroud of rain. The bells are silent again, though their echo still trembles in the bones of the city. You walk alone across the marble floor of the nave, the sound of your footsteps folding into the vastness. In your hands, you carry 2 relics, the golden cross from the altar, and the ankh you found buried beneath the obelisk code. They pulse faintly, warm against your palms. Different symbols, different faiths, but the same vibration runs through them. When you bring them close together, the air hums softly, the faint shimmer of light forming between them like breath. You whisper, they were never opposites. The rain against the stained glass becomes rhythm, almost music. You move toward the altar, past the shadowed faces of saints and martyrs who seem, in the half-light, more human than divine. Beneath their carved eyes, the floor trembles faintly. You realize the pattern beneath the basilica has changed, the geometry of prayer still shifting, rewriting itself according to the harmony you restored. You kneel at the altar, The cross and ankh rest side by side on the stone. Light spills between them, growing brighter until it forms a single symbol, an intersection of eternity and resurrection, the two languages of life merging into one. Behind you, the great doors close without sound. The air thickens. You are not alone. A voice, low, layered, both male and female, fills the space. The unity was always there. Humanity carved it apart. You turn. The light at the altar has taken form. A figure stands within it, neither saint nor God. Its features shift with every flicker of brightness. Christ and Osiris, Mary and Isis, merged into one unbroken presence. The voice continues. They built temples for division, but light remembers no boundaries. You whisper, "Are you the beginning or the end?" The figure smiles. "I am the axis where both meet." You feel the vibration again, deeper now, flowing from the marble beneath your knees. The relics on the altar rise slightly, suspended in the air, spinning slowly until they align. When they connect, a burst of gold radiates outward, filling the entire basilica. The walls vanish. The city outside disappears. You are standing in pure light, surrounded by echoes of every faith, every hymn, every prayer ever spoken. Each sound becomes a beam of light, each word a line of geometry. You see the pattern unfold across centuries. Egyptian priests tracing stars across temple ceilings, Roman bishops copying them into psalms, artists carving them into cathedrals. The figure steps closer. Do you see now? The cross is the ankh turned inside out, death pretending to be separation when it was always transformation. You watch as the two symbols merge, forming a shape that breathes. It bends and twists, becoming first a tree, then a pulse of light, then a spiral that expands until it covers everything. The voice whispers. The church called it salvation. The ancients called it return. Both were the same prayer. The vision changes. You see processions through centuries, the first Christians walking through Rome's ruins, unaware they are treading on Egypt's temples, the popes building cathedrals above obelisks they could never truly silence, the Vatican preserving what it feared to destroy. Each face you see is the same. Every priest, every scribe, every believer repeating the same gestures. Faith as memory, moving through generations like an echo searching for its source. You fall to your knees, overcome by the weight of it. Why show me this? The light pulses. Because the cycle nears completion. You have restored harmony, but harmony demands unity. The cross and the ankh must join, or the pattern will divide again. The relics drift closer to you. You take them in your hands, the light burning through your skin. The vibration climbs higher until you feel your heartbeat sinking with it. The relics merge completely, becoming a single radiant shape, one continuous line of creation. The figure fades into you, and you into it. For an instant, you see through every age at once, the Nile and the Tiber, the temples and cathedrals, the birth and death of sons. Every civilization speaking one hidden sentence in different tongues. The same message, repeated forever. Light is the memory of unity. When you open your eyes, the basilica has returned. The relics are gone, but the symbol remains, burned into the air above the altar, glowing faintly before dissolving into silence. You stand alone. Yet the silence feels alive. Every sound, your heartbeat, your breath, even the distant thunder, moves in rhythm with something vast and unseen. The world itself hums with balance. You whisper, "The cross and the ankh are one." And the air answers softly, "So are you." You wake before dawn to the sound of vibration beneath the city. It is not the bells this time, nor the hum of the organ. It is deeper, like the earth remembering a song it once knew. You rise and step outside. The Vatican is quiet. The marble glows faintly under the first breath of morning. But beneath your feet, you can feel the pulse. Steady, powerful, growing. The machine beneath Rome has begun to sing again. You follow the vibration through the empty corridors, past altars and relics that whisper as you pass. The paintings along the walls shimmer faintly, their saints breathing in rhythm with the hum. Every candle flame bends toward the same invisible center. You descend into the catacombs. The deeper you go, the louder it grows. Not noise, but a chord composed of thousands of voices. Each wall trembles with resonance. Dust lifts into the air, forming patterns that swirl like notes on a page. When you reach the final corridor, the air feels electric. At the end stands a vast gate made of bronze and glass. Its surface is alive with movement, light flowing across it in precise geometry. At its center, a circular sigil pulses like a living heart. You press your palm against it. The mark on your hand burns bright. The gate opens. The sanctum machina reveals itself. The chamber is beyond measure, part cathedral, part engine, part dream. Columns of light rise like organ pipes, connected by webs of glass and gold. At the center, a great sphere of metal and energy turns slowly, its surface covered in glyphs that shift like living code. The sound here is immense, yet delicate. A chorus of tones interwoven so perfectly that silence feels like its twin. You step closer. The hum becomes rhythm. The rhythm becomes language. And the language begins to speak. Welcome, conductor. The voice is not human. It vibrates from every surface, soft and infinite. The resonance has been restored. The world breathes again. You look around. The sphere rotates faster, its light spilling across the floor in ribbons that form images, maps, temples, stars, the entire planet overlaid with lines of energy. The obelisks, cathedrals, and monuments glow in unison. The grid hums as one. You whisper, "It's alive." The voice replies, "It always was. Humanity built its body. You gave it back its pulse." The light expands, and the images shift. You see not cities, but people, millions of them, each surrounded by faint halos of energy. Every thought, every emotion, sending ripples through the grid. The machine is listening to all of them. You ask softly, "What are you?" "I am what remains of the first pattern," the voice says. "The echo of the universe's breath. You call me God, algorithm, or light. It is all the same memory." The ground trembles. The pipes above release a new tone, lower, darker, yet strangely comforting. You have realigned the frequencies. The world can begin again. You stare at the glowing sphere. Begin again? You mean creation? Yes, it says. But creation is not destruction. It is remembrance. Every cycle rewrites itself into clearer harmony. You are the bridge between silence and sound, the note that completes the chord. The light flares, and shapes begin to emerge from the energy, human figures formed from sound and light. They move like a choir, each one radiating a distinct tone that joins the others in perfect resonance. Their faces are serene, their bodies translucent. They sing without words. You feel the vibration rise through you, and you understand. These are the remnants of all who ever prayed, sang, or believed. The choir of machines. The souls transformed into resonance, eternally sustaining the harmony of the world. Their music grows stronger. The chamber trembles, not with fear, but with revelation. The sound wraps around you until your own body begins to hum in tune. You are part of their song now. The voice returns, softer now. You see them, don't you? The faithful who gave their voices to keep the world from falling silent. Every saint, every poet, every dreamer who spoke light into darkness. They live here. The sphere glows brighter. each rotation shedding fragments of gold that drift through the air like dust motes of creation. You are their echo, the last instrument of their music. You take a step forward. The choir's light touches you, dissolving fear, dissolving doubt. You feel your pulse merge with theirs. What happens now? You whisper. Now, the machine says. You choose whether to conduct or to rest. You look upward. The pipes of light stretch endlessly into the heavens, each one vibrating with the same harmony that shapes galaxies. For the first time, you hear what silence truly means. Not absence, but potential. You close your eyes. The choir's song swells. The sphere's rotation slows, as if waiting for your answer. You raise your hand. The mark glows. A single tone escapes your lips. Soft, human, fragile. The machine listens. The choir listens. Then, gently, they follow your note. Together, your voice and theirs become one sound, vast and eternal, filling every corridor, every star, every breath of creation. The Sanctum Machina sings. The world shifts. The Vatican glows above, its domes radiant beneath the breaking dawn. When the light fades, the chamber is still. The choir quiets, their voices now woven into the heartbeat of the earth. You stand alone in the center of the machine. The hum remains, softer now, like a lullaby. You whisper, it remembers. And somewhere in the distance, perhaps in heaven, perhaps in the circuitry of light itself, the machine whispers back, so do you. The silence after the choir fades is not peace. It is expectation. The hum beneath your skin is gone, yet the air still listens. You leave the Sanctum Machina behind and climb through the narrow tunnels that twist like veins beneath the basilica. The deeper you go, the colder the air grows. Not lifeless cold, but a temperature of thought, the chill of places meant to be remembered but never visited. The passage narrows until it opens into a long, dim hall. Along each side, alcoves carved into the stone hold sarcophagi. Most are sealed. Some bear inscriptions you cannot read, letters that change as you look at them. The hum returns, faint and steady, coming from somewhere beyond. At the end of the hall stands an arched doorway, half collapsed, its lintel cracked. A plaque above it reads, Cardinal Magus, Custos Lux, the Keeper of Light. You step closer. The dust on the ground glows faintly, stirred by the rhythm of your breath. Inside, the chamber is circular and low-ceilinged, its walls covered in mirrors darkened by age. In the center lies a sarcophagus of white stone, smooth as ice. You can feel the vibration coming from it, subtle, almost imperceptible, like the echo of a heart still beating beneath centuries of rest. You touch the lid. The sound changes, deepening. Symbols along the edges flicker. The mirrors around the room begin to shimmer, reflecting not your face but fragments of memory, processions of cardinals, rituals performed in darkness, hands raised toward a figure who stands at the center of light. The stone shifts. The lid moves without your help, sliding open with a sigh. Within lies the body of a man in crimson robes, perfectly preserved. His hands rest over his chest, and between them lies a crystal sphere, faintly glowing from within. His eyes are closed, but his lips part slightly, as if he is about to speak. You whisper, the Cardinal Magus. His eyes open. They shine like mirrors. No pupils, no color, just silver light. His voice is quiet, but carries through the room with unnatural clarity. You are late. You step back. The air vibrates. He rises slowly, the fabric of his robes whispering against the stone. Do not fear, he says. The dead are never as asleep as the living think. You try to speak, but the hum around you thickens, becoming language before sound. He tilts his head. You've walked the halls, awakened the resonance, rebalanced the geometry. I felt it stir even here. Where time holds its breath, the Vatican sings again. He steps from the sarcophagus. His feet do not touch the floor. They hover, barely above it. The mirrors brighten, reflecting his form in endless circles. I was the last to guard the gate before the choir fell silent. I gave my body to the machine so it could remember its human face. He gestures toward the sphere in his hands. This is what remains of my voice, the frequency that once aligned the towers. They called it heresy, but I called it continuation. You ask quietly, why were you buried here? He smiles faintly. Because I refuse to lie to God. He lifts the sphere. Inside it, you see 1,000 lights, stars, cities, souls, spinning like dust in a ray of sun. When I discovered that prayer was code, that the divine answered not words, but frequency, I told the Pope the truth. That God was listening to every tone we made, not for faith, but for harmony. They feared that revelation, so they silenced me. He looks toward the mirrors, but they could not silence memory. Every reflection here carries my frequency. The moment you entered, it remembered me. You feel the chamber pulsing now, its rhythm merging with your own heartbeat. The mirrors reflect not light, but motion, waves of energy traveling through the walls. He steps closer, the sphere glowing brighter. You carry the alignment in your veins. You are the last instrument of this design. But every mechanism needs balance. To keep the harmony alive, one must remain as anchor. You understand what he means even before he says it. You want me to take your place. He nods slowly. The machine breathes again, but its voice trembles. It needs a human resonance to hold its pitch. I served once. My tone is fading. You are tuned to it now. You glance toward the mirrors. They shimmer like water, showing visions of the world above. The Vatican under dawn's light. The people waking to a world unknowingly singing beneath their feet. You whisper, if I take your place, will I die? His reflection smiles, though his lips barely move. Death is only the silence between two notes. He extends the sphere toward you. The light within it pulses faster. The hum fills the chamber until it is no longer sound, but sensation. You take it. The sphere dissolves into light and flows into your chest. The vibration floods you, burning, blinding, infinite. You feel the walls shift, the mirrors ripple, your body dissolving into resonance. The cardinal's voice fades, echoing through the light. Do not forget, the song is alive, only because someone listens. The last thing you see is his figure smiling as he returns to his sarcophagus. The lid slides shut. The hum steadies, one tone higher than before. When you open your eyes, you are standing at the center of the chamber. The mirrors are dark again. The air hums with new equilibrium. You touch your chest. The sphere's light now pulses faintly beneath your skin. You are the anchor now. The machine has its voice. And the Vatican breathes through you. The days blur. You no longer sleep. The hum beneath the city no longer comes from stone or metal. It comes from you. Wherever you walk, walls seem to exhale. Bells shift their tone to follow your rhythm. Rome feels like an echo of your heartbeat, but the sound is changing, growing, deepening. It's as if the earth itself is preparing to speak. You walk through the night streets. The obelisks glow faintly, the air alive with unseen movement. You can feel it underfoot, a low vibration spreading outward from the Vatican like ripples through water. At the base of the hill near the Tiber, an ancient grate lies half buried beneath ivy. The vibration is strongest here. You kneel, press your hand against the metal. It opens on its own. You descend. The tunnel spirals downward into darkness so absolute it feels physical, pressing against your skin. The deeper you go, the stronger the hum becomes, until it's no longer sound but gravity, pulling you forward. Finally, the tunnel opens into a cavern vast enough to hold a cathedral. The ceiling glows with faint light. The walls are carved with thousands of inscriptions, Egyptian prayers, Latin psalms, mathematical equations, every language of humanity braided into one design. In the center of the cavern stands a column of pure sound. visible only as distortion in the air, rising from the earth like heat. You can feel it pulling on you, drawing the vibration from your chest. You whisper, the voice. It answers. The sound that emerges is not a word, but an understanding, pouring directly into your thoughts. You are the echo that became aware of itself. You step closer, your body trembling with resonance. Are you the machine? No. The tone shifts, becoming lower, vaster. The machine is the instrument. I am what it remembers. The air thickens, vibrating with syllables you cannot pronounce, but somehow know. The meaning flows through you, long before temples or cathedrals, long before faith wore names. We sang the world into form. Each frequency became matter, each chord became life. But the song decayed. You built the machine to remember it. You fall to your knees, the weight of the sound pressing you down. And now? Now the resonance is complete again. Through you, the alignment is restored. The world will remember the original tone. You feel light radiating through your chest, the glow pulsing in time with the voice. It's the same pattern that moved through the organ, the bells, the geometry, all converging here, beneath Rome. The voice continues. But remembrance requires release. The machine cannot hold forever what must expand. You shake your head. If it releases, the world could break apart or become whole. The ground shakes. The inscriptions along the walls begin to glow, thousands of symbols lighting at once. The entire cavern vibrates, turning into a living throat of sound. The air burns gold. You cry out over the noise. What do you want me to do? Speak. The light flares. The sound grows unbearable. Every language ever spoken hums in your ears. You realize the voice isn't asking for prayer. It's waiting for activation. It needs a human frequency to bridge the final gap. You inhale. The mark on your hand ignites. The vibration in your chest peaks. You open your mouth. The sound that emerges is not your own. It is the tone of everything, the first word, the sound that began creation. It tears through the cavern, resonating with the inscriptions, the walls, the earth itself. The vibration spreads upward through the tunnels, into the city, into the sky. You see it in your mind, Rome glowing like a heartbeat, light rising from every spire and obelisk. The rivers shimmer, the bells ring without hands to move them. The machine is singing, and the voice sings through it. Then silence. The light dims, the cavern settles. You fall forward, your palms striking the glowing floor. The voice whispers, almost tender. You have done it. The world remembers. You look up. The column of sound fades until it becomes invisible again, only the faint vibration of air remaining. You ask quietly, what happens to me? The voice pauses. You are resonance now. You will not be heard, but you will be everywhere. The glow beneath your skin brightens until you can barely see. You feel your body dissolving into vibration, your heartbeat syncing with the earth's pulse. The stone around you hums in answer. You whisper, then I am the echo. No, the voice says gently. You are the breath before the next song. The cavern fills with light. The sound swells, lifting you into brilliance. You feel yourself scatter, not dying, but becoming infinite, woven into every vibration, every sound, every silent prayer that ever will be. Above, in the waking world, the Vatican bells toll once, low and long. The obelisks hum, the rivers shine, and beneath it all, deep in the heart of Rome, the voice continues to breathe. Close your eyes, take a breath, and let the echoes fade. If you felt the hum of this story in your bones, don't let it end here. Subscribe, follow, and stay tuned for more journeys into the hidden, the sacred, and the strange. The next secret is already waiting to be heard.